All right, good morning. This is Sports for Real with Coach Hall. It's holiday season, which throws everything off, which is why I like the normalcy of things. But it's also good to get some time off. You just got to manage it. Been managing it pretty well, sitting back watching a lot of football, paying attention to what's going on in the sports world. There's an awful lot to talk about that I've been missing. So I'll just touch on a few things before I get to the point. I see that Jake Paul got whipped, got his jaw wired up, broken in a couple places, picking on a heavyweight, which he shouldn't have been in the ring with. But you have to give Jake Paul credit because he's a master marketer. He came up with a minimum $92 million just for stepping in the ring with Joshua. I'd jump in there too, but I don't know if he was supposed to get in there and dance and try to extend the fight as long as he can to make it look like he was trying to win or had a chance to win. I don't know. But me in the same circumstances, I take that 92 million, but it won't be for no dive. I'm coming in there trying to win. In essence, it wouldn't last that long. Either he was going to knock me out in the first round, or I'm going to knock him out in the first round. Be the quickest 92 million ever made in the world, except people who go out and steal. But that's another topic. But I brought up Joshua to. I hear that he was in a car crash, and he was in the back seat with two of his buddies. And unfortunately for Joshua, those two guys got killed, one on either side of him. And they were supposed to be his trainers, for what I understand. And they ended up, it wasn't their fault, for what I understand, that the other driver that caused the wreck, as always, walked away with a scratch. So this is all the information that I have. Funny how it always happens. The guy that causes the wreck always walks away without a scratch. But we'll get more details on that as it unfolds. As far as I know, Joshua is okay. And like the point was brought up, he just hit that lottery style payoff. And not shortly afterwards, something tragic happens. Why does life do us like that? I have no idea. But he's okay. He's just going to have to bounce back. Speaking of lottery winners, the night before Christmas, somebody hit that 1.8 billion Powerball, one ticket out of Arkansas. I don't know how they're going to do that, but it's probably best to get all your lawyers and everything all lined up before you go cash that in. But Arkansas helps you out that you don't have to reveal your identity, and that's a big help. You come down to Florida with that, and you reveal yourself, you're going to have some people bothering you the whole time. All right, now, sports world. On Sunday, a lot of interesting things happened. My Steelers had a chance to clinch the division. And for the second time this year, when they had an opportunity to put a clamp on that division, they didn't do it. They jumped out like 4-5-0, and they had a 2 or 3 game lead on Baltimore. All they had to do was come on out and win. Then they started losing. They bounced back a little bit, and Baltimore gave them a gift. They kept losing. But Baltimore fell down 2 games, and it came down to Cleveland. All Pittsburgh had to do was beat the lowly Browns. Well, like I told you the first time that they played the Browns, this is the type of game that Pittsburgh generally would lose. They won the first game. They struggled a little bit. But then the second game, they had nothing going for them offensively, primarily because you don't have DK Metcalf. If you recall, Metcalf, he got into it with a fan in Detroit. At the end of the game, somebody who's apparently had a problem with before, he's reported to security before, but yet he's still able to come there and harass DK Metcalf. Well, Metcalf should have known better than that because he had a whole lot of money on the line. And because he's getting suspended, he's standing to lose $40 to $45 million. And all because you can't control your emotions, get along with some fan in the stands where you don't have to say nothing to. And furthermore, it may cost your team a spot in the playoffs. Had Metcalf been there, then that gives the Steelers more options. Even if the game had gone the way it did, and it came down to Pittsburgh having to score in that last minute there, they would have had more options to throw to instead of trying to force it to the same person. Well, Pittsburgh chances got even worse because the big tight end, big 300-pound tight end that Rodgers likes, he ended up breaking his arm. So unless he's going to go old school on us, shoot it up, and get out there and play anyway, he's not going to be playing against the Ravens. Meanwhile, the Ravens, they took care of business by finally giving the ball to Derrick Henry like I thought they would give it to him when he first got there. But they've been using him sparingly, and because they've been using him sparingly, they're losing games that they probably should have won. So they took care of Green Bay by giving Henry the ball, and what does he do? He runs all over him. He gets stronger as the game goes on, same as his entire career. They finally realized this particular situation, primarily because Jackson, he wasn't able to play. Well, now that Pittsburgh is lost, Baltimore wins. It comes down to a winner-take-all, game 17. The winner takes the division. Now, Baltimore is not going to have Jackson again, from what I understand, and Pittsburgh again is not going to have Metcalf. So the way this game is going to go is going to be determined, can Pittsburgh stop Derrick Henry? It's going to go back to the same game plan I've been telling you before, because Hundley is not very different in his style of play from Jackson. So when he runs up there with Henry, and if they slow Henry down, the next thing that's going to happen, he's going to pull it and try to run around the corner just like Jackson. Pittsburgh's going to have to design a defense that controls Henry and expecting Hundley to come running around the corner. Same plan that Pittsburgh's had for the most part, which they didn't use in the playoffs last year when they got run off by Baltimore. If they go back to the same Steelers plan against the Ravens, then they should be able to beat Baltimore despite not having DK Metcalf. But if Henry is able to go off in the second year in a row, the Ravens are going to eliminate Pittsburgh. And I say they deserve to get eliminated because they shouldn't be in this situation in the first place. Every single thing that has happened to Pittsburgh is their own fault. Now, if they do lose, the question is, what will Tomlin do? I think he's coming back. The ownership is not going to get rid of him. I think he leaves Pittsburgh when he gets ready to leave Pittsburgh. Other than that, it's going to be a lot of grumbling in the stands. And like I said, I do ride share. I picked up a guy yesterday and I asked him about Sean McDermott. And he told me the same thing that's going on in Buffalo is that the owners are going to hold on to him longer than his usefulness. He mentioned the same thing in Pittsburgh. And I agree. I think Tomlin's been there long enough. It's time for him to go somewhere else and bring a different breath of air into the locker room or into the city instead of the same old, same old. It's the same thing in Buffalo, just like the man said with Pittsburgh. Now, Browns got 99 problems, but a squeal ain't one. Selmo, how you doing, man? I told you guys that you guys are thorn in the side for whatever damn reason. You guys can be 1-14 or whatever, and we can be 16-0, and damn if they won't lose to the Browns. I'm not surprised at all about it. And like I say, it's Pittsburgh's own fault. But going into Buffalo, why I brought up McDermott is because everybody is blaming every single position on the Bills team for losing against Buffalo except for Josh Allen. Nobody wants to blame Josh Allen for anything. Well, I'm telling you right now, I'm blaming Josh Allen because twice he had a chance to get points. The first time when they were scoreless, they went for it on fourth down. He scrambled. He tried to run, and he got tackled a half yard short. Well, if he had just looked up, he would have seen Brandon Cook standing on the goal line wide open because the defense collapsed on him. Easy touchdown. He missed it. I guess he wanted to be Superman. Now, if you don't believe what I'm saying, you can go back and look at the film. But for reference, go back and look at what Brock Purdy did later on that night. He scrambled, made the guy miss, like he was going to take off and run, pull up, threw the ball in the corner of the end zone. Juszczyk was wide open. Same thing that Josh Allen had. He missed that. Then they scored a touchdown, and they go for two. Why the hell are they going for two? I don't know. Because Philadelphia couldn't move the ball the whole second half. If they had gone to overtime, chances are Buffalo could have kicked the field goal and won the damn game. But more on that later. He got a little pressure, but all he had to do was just loft the ball over the top, and the receiver is wide open. They get the 2-point and they win the game. Nobody's blaming Allen for that. They're saying it's the offensive line's fault. Well, if you're a professional quarterback and you see a receiver that's wide open and he only less than 10 yards away, ain't nowhere in the hell he should miss that pass. I hadn't thrown regularly in 8-9 years, but I could have hit that pass. It was wide open. So why aren't we blaming Josh Allen? Why are we blaming everybody else? Now, they say that Josh Allen, this is his opportunity to win the AFC championship. There's no Mahomes. Don't look like Jackson is going to be there. Only thing left are young quarterbacks, Bo Nix, Drake May up in New England, C.J. Stroud. These guys young and up and coming, but they hadn't won a damn thing. So this is Allen's time. But Allen can't seem to make the plays that he needs to make, regardless of who the other quarterback is on the other side. So who do you blame? They don't want to give Allen the blame. I am. Now, back to McDermott. Going back to what the guy told me yesterday in the ride share. He said that they're probably going to keep McDermott, but they should get rid of him because you're getting the same results that you get every single year. But because you're in the playoffs, ownership may accept that as something that they can deal with. But is that a good way to approach this if you're the Bills management? Because like we said about Josh Allen, you have no more Patrick Mahomes, maybe no Lamar Jackson. And if you can't get it done now, when will McDermott and the Bills get it done? It's a novel question to be asked. And my question is, why would you not kick the extra point there? And you tell me that, well, the field goal kicker already missed 2 kicks. Yeah, he did. But what about all the wide open receivers Josh Allen missed? Do you pull him out of the game because he missed the throw? No. That guy's paid to make kicks. He's in a situation where he has to make that kick. Give him a chance. If you don't make it, then we get rid of it. And that's just the way it has to be. But you don't bench Allen when he makes a mistake. So you have to get a kicker a chance to do the job. And it's just a bad decision to me by McDermott because the rage in the league now is to go for it a whole lot of times on 4th. Well, if I'm the defensive coordinator and I'm planning for you, and I know that you have the propensity to go for it on most 4th downs, that's going to be part of my preparation. Instead of it being a surprise to me and everybody else when you go for it, now you're giving me all these scenarios to prepare for during the week. So the advantage goes to the defense. And as you notice, the defenses are starting to win a lot of these 4th down situations. Who's that? Was it last night? Who's that? Falcons and who the Falcons played last night? They played the Rams. The Rams went forward on 4th down last night. He loaded the box and he hit Kyron Williams in the backfield 2 yards deep. That was a 4th down. When you start adding all these things up, if you start kicking field goals and get points where you have a chance to get points, then you can keep yourself in these games. But that's not what these coaches are doing. Everybody's doing what everybody else is doing. Ike and Mike, all alike. It's like these high school coaches. Everybody's doing the same exact thing. There is no originality going on. And that lack of originality is getting a lot of teams beat. And I understand it clearly. What this guy was telling me that it's time for a change in Buffalo, and it's probably time for a change in Pittsburgh. But the likelihood of that happening because you have successful coaches and they're going to get picked up tomorrow by somebody else is the reason why these coaches aren't being let go. But there's something to be explored. So that's just my point on that. And finally, I wanted to mention that the college football playoffs are close. We may have some pretty good bowl games. And tomorrow, New Year's Eve, you got Ohio State finally getting it back on with Miami. I think they played once or twice since that championship game they played back in 2002. I believe it was, and that was a great game, very controversial, and Miami fans will never forget how they felt cheated on that. So they get an opportunity to announce their presence to the world that they're back, number one, and two, um, that they are a worthy playoff team that is capable of knocking off Ohio State. Now, mind you, I told you guys I never thought that Ohio State was the best team. I'm not saying that Miami is going to beat them, but Miami has the capability to beat them. The question is, will Cristobal get in the way? He has the ability to jack things up. Now, one other note about this playoff game: they beat Texas A&M to get to this point, and the word coming out of Texas A&M is that Marcel Reed, the quarterback, he was more into juicing and partying than getting ready for the game. How true that is, I don't know, but that's neither here nor there. But the underlying story there that nobody seemed to be talking about or talked about was the lowly ACC knocked off one of the top teams in the SEC. Now, if you recall, the SEC commissioner, Sankey, he felt like they should have had 7 teams. I think they got 5. Let's count them: Texas A&M, Georgia, Ole Miss, Alabama, Oklahoma. They got 5 when they thought they should have had 7. Well, that would have been more than half the damn teams in the playoffs. How can you have a national tournament if all the teams come from the same place? Well, I look at it like this. The ACC, they say, didn't deserve any teams because it was so weak. What do? They knock out one of the best teams in the SEC. One down. They cannibalize each other with Alabama knocking off Oklahoma. That's 2 down. You only got 3 left. Georgia's going to play Ole Miss on Thursday. That's going to be 3. So my question is, how many SEC teams are going to be available for the semifinals? We know they're going to have one, but will they get another one? I wonder. I'm thinking they're not. So let's keep an eye on what the SEC does with their holier than thou attitude about how they should have more teams than anybody else. But when they get to the playoffs, they don't seem to be doing a whole lot. So that's just a storyline you might want to keep an eye on. And I'd be interested to see just how many SEC teams, besides the one guaranteed spot they're going to get, because you got Georgia and Ole Miss playing, how many other teams are going to get through? Can Alabama knock off Indiana? Can they? Be interesting to see. But I'm starting to think a certain way about that, and we'll talk about that when it comes to that particular game. But the big game tomorrow is Ohio State and Miami, and upset is in the air. They already got one big upset in Cleveland with the Browns knocking off the Steelers, and they continue that by knocking off, well, I wouldn't say that. I said it wrong, what I just said. Can Miami go in there and knock off Ohio State is a question. But, that remains to be seen. But just to recap, Josh Allen needs to shoulder the blame. He had some wide open receivers he didn't hit. And he shouldn't take blame, allow people to blame his offensive line and other positions. He's the one that should shoulder the entire blame for that loss. He had 2 receivers wide open, which were worth 8 points. And his coach is right next to him because he didn't have to go for 2 in that situation. He could have taken the Eagles, who could not move the ball the entire second half, into overtime and easily won that game. Why push the issue? It wasn't his team that was struggling in the second half. It was the Eagles. And with the bad weather, it didn't help their cause at all. So I think McDermott, right next to Josh Allen, should shoulder the blame for that loss the other day against the Eagles. The question is, will Allen play the next game against the Jets? He's kind of banged up a little bit. They don't really gain anything because the way it looks right now, you know that the Pittsburgh-Baltimore winner is going to be the 4th seed. And Houston, if they can win against the Colts, that'll give them the 5th seed. Jacksonville is going to dispatch Tennessee, so they're going to win the division there. That'll give them the 3rd seed. So the way it looks like, I don't think that because they've already beaten the Chargers. Look like the Bills are penciling in for number 6, which is going to send them to New England. They're going to end up playing New England in that first round, no matter what they do. Larry Barrett, how you doing, man? I hadn't seen you in a while. I'm not crying about my Steelers, but, somebody need to cry for them. The way they play, sometimes you wonder if the NFL has something to do with all of this, but I doubt it. Pittsburgh is right where they need to be, on the verge of elimination because they put themselves there. And it is what it is. But you can't cry for millionaires because either way, I tell you guys all the time, the bottom line of all this stuff is just to take care of your family. And all these guys should be doing that very well unless they're doing something stupid. And that's just the way it is. I say another day in paradise. I hope you guys had a good holiday, man. No filter boss. How you doing? I'm just trying to get caught up here. I hadn't been on in 3 or 4 days. And the holiday tied up with all of that. I got to go see, I call the doctors the butchers. And I got reasons for that. But I got to go see the butcher shortly, so I can't stay on very long. The way I see it next week, I think Tampa's going to find a way to get by Carolina to win that division. So I take that back. I think Carolina clinched the division with the Falcons winning last night. So I think the Bucks may have been eliminated with that loss. I got to check on that. But I think Pittsburgh is going to get Baltimore. I still think they're going to beat Baltimore. And Buffalo, like I say, they're pretty much penciled in. The Texans are going to beat the Colts, and Jacksonville is going to get by Tennessee. So that's going to pretty much cement the rankings in the AFC. NFC is going to come down to Seattle and San Francisco. The way San Francisco is playing, it almost might be to their advantage to lose that game so they can go into the playoffs knowing that they can get beat because everything seems to be bouncing their way. Chicago outplayed them, in my opinion, but at the same time, they couldn't stop each other, and it came down to who had the ball last, and they finally made a play. They got enough pressure on Caleb that he couldn't step into that last throw, but you can't depend on that. And the way they reacted after that game, they realized they caught a break. So it might be to their advantage to lose that game to Seattle because they know they can beat Seattle. And the Rams probably one of the biggest problem because they seem to have problems with certain defenses. And Philadelphia on the road in the cold would give them a lot of trouble. But I think that watching the Rams, that McVay, he gets very predictable with his play call. Keep this in mind when you see the Rams play. If they get 3 or 4 yards on first down, the very next play, it's going to be play action. 99% of the time, it's going to be play action. If I can pick that up watching it, just regular game, what do you think these coordinators are doing when they're watching 100 hours of film during the week? They can pick that up. And it's the same thing. You're trying to hit the core. You're trying to get a big play on 2nd and 6 or 2nd and 7. It's going to be play action every time. And 2nd and 3rd and 4th, 100% of the time he's going play action. This guy is predictable. I'm telling you, keep an eye on that. And like I said, if I pick up on it, you know these coordinators are. Any snow at your location? No, Larry, I'm down in Florida. But yesterday it was over 70 degrees, and they told us that cold front was coming from up north. So the temperature was supposed to drop last night into the 30s, which it did. I seen it as low as 38. And today it's supposed to get up into the 40s. And tonight it's supposed to go back down into the 20s with the wind chill factor involved. So it's no moisture in the air to cause snow, but it's going to get cold enough for snow. But at the same time, we don't have to worry too much about that. But yeah, man, this weather is ridiculous down here. But in 2 days, it'll probably be back up into the 70s. So we don't get worried too much about it. Cold. It's like going into a freezer or something. And once we come out, we're good. All right. Running up against the clock here. All right. Ducky K says hello. They pulling Hurts after the halftime. Oh, they probably will. I think the Eagles, they can't do no better than I think they're going to be a 2 seed. Uh, they're going to be a 2 seed because once the loser of the Seahawks 49ers game is going to drop to 3, and made a big difference there. So Philadelphia is pretty much penciled in, and I think the Rams are trying to avoid not going to Philadelphia. So that's going to play a part into who they play in that game next week. A lot of these teams start pulling starters, and now you only have one team that gets a bye. So we'll see how the Broncos and the you can't we won't know who gets the number 1 seed until after the other game. But I think the Broncos pretty much got it, and let's see who they play. Um, Generally, they get results later because they play afternoon, and they're not gonna play a whole lot of players. So Hurts, he probably won't play a whole lot. 23 last night. Oh man, that's too cold, man. You get a little moisture, you definitely gonna get some snow. But if it's 30 is here, I know it's gonna be colder tonight up there. So you might as well wrap it up, man. But I'm looking forward to the college playoffs. It should be a bowl game on the day, so it'll be something to look forward to. But in the meantime, though, man, I got to get up out of here. I got to go see this doctor, see what kind of good news, hopefully, he can tell me. For somebody that's 30 plus pounds overweight, you can plug me up, and my numbers are better than a whole lot of in shape 25-year-olds. How that's the case, I don't know, but I won't question it as long as I'm all right. All right, if the Eagles are up by double digits, they pulling it. Well, I don't think it's going to even get to that. I think that he's going to play a set amount of time and they're going to pull him. They need to get backup quarterback in there and kind of do like what the Ravens doing. Try to see if you can get the running game going, and that'll be another weapon you can use as you move forward to the playoffs. All right. Now, here's what I'm going to try to do. I'm going to try. See, can I go? Because where I'm going, I got to go through some bad areas. I already know what's going to happen. I know I'm late. I know that. All right. Yeah, I'm running late. I got to go. So, Barrett, who you think is gonna win the Super Bowl? Who's gonna get to the Super Bowl? I'm thinking. I thought the Rams were gonna make it. But the Rams have showed me that they're not gonna do anything. San Francisco, I don't think they're gonna make it either. This would be a great time for Seattle to get there if Sam Darnold can overcome his ineptitude. He's in the exact same situation he was in last year. He was with Minnesota, and he had to go to Detroit to win that game for the number 1 seed and the division title. They lost, and he went on the road to LA and got beat. But this time, he's with Seattle, and he's got to go to San Francisco. This is also for the division title and the number 1 seed in the NFC. Exact same situation. But will we get the same exact Sam Darnold? If he can't come through, then that's going to send San Francisco on the road when it comes down to the divisional round. Because the way it looks right now is that the loser of this game is going to get that 3 seed. It looks like the Eagles are going to be 2, and depending on who wins that game, it might push him back to 3. So it's going to be interesting to see how he's out. But he is the key to what the Seahawks are going to do. Now they got to wrap this. You got San Francisco. That can go any kind of way. I'm interested to see how he's out. In the other game, Pittsburgh will have to find a way to stop that running game. Because with Lamar Jackson out, it kind of like simplifies it. So he just going to have to load the box and make Huntley beat him. Now, I don't know why Green Bay, who's supposed to be kind of struggling to me, but they're supposed to be a playoff caliber team. Why not put a playoff caliber game plan together to go against a team like the Ravens when you know that Lamar Jackson wasn't going to play. It's cold in Green Bay, so that's even more of a reason for you to try to stop the run. They're going to have to stop running the playoffs. So why not get off to a good start by slowing the Ravens down? They didn't even come close, man. And you can't say because Michael Parsons is not there anymore, he's not really a run stopper anyway. He's more of a get out to the quarterback kind of guy. And without him in there, it weakens their defense to a certain level, but not to the point where teams gonna run it right down your throat. I mean, that was old school running what they were doing. They were pulling guards and tackles and everybody else. They were blowing holes off in the Packers, and they couldn't stand up to it, man. And I don't know how long the Packers are gonna last once they get into the playoffs, but it looks kind of a tough one. But, I'm all over the place here. Still here. But yeah, man, I'm looking forward to the college football playoff game tomorrow between Ohio State and Miami. Miami's got that dynamic player, Malachi Tony. They're going to have to slow him down. And the wild card there is Matt Patricia. So he's going to come up with some kind of game plan to slow